So for this episode of Spotlight, I've travelled 4.5 hours to a lake that I can only describe as paradise. There is little coves and there's little islands all over the place, and it's been visited by many of a legend of an angler. Welcome to Ashmead.
Document everything. Take a picture of everything, and smaller ones if you do. You can No, this is just pick and choose. This is picking to choose, or whatever.
There are no swims, so
you know, as such, you know, you just
too much choice. You hate that. Oh, that ain't too bad.
but at the end of the day, Ollie will just have to fit in amongst you.
Who's got lowest?
Might be me.
Who's got
That's
number
what
one?
you wanted.
Me.
You got number one.
Of course he has.
And you are your Mark.
Yeah, fix.
Right.
Film crew.
Make sure you get this right.
Right, Mark. So,
you just want your sun on your back most of the day for
I'm
photography.
going to start off
Start off.
here
on the corner of
on the
North
corner,
Goat.
Corner of North Goat,
Yeah.
just as you go round just over the second bridge.
First one on the left.
Ashmead, the legendary Ashmead, and it's quite overwhelming. Such a beautiful place. It is right up my street. There is so many nooks and crannies, it's covered in weed, and yeah, I'm not sure I know exactly where I am because you get lost so easy. You go around the corner and then there's just more. You go around the corner and then there's more, but there's fish absolutely everywhere. So wasn't particularly bothered when I come out in the draw, but I did come out first. So,
It wasn't rigged.
and it wasn't rigged. So yeah, I've got my first choice of swim, which isn't always the best thing to happen. Sometimes it's better to let your fate just happen and let everyone else draw and you end up what you've ended up. But to be fair, there's 8 of us on here and there's so many swims and there's fish everywhere, and I'm definitely going to be roaming around for most of it, but we've got a hub and that's where I'm going to focus my attention for, particularly at night, but during the day I'm going to be all over the place. Wander.
Cool.
Draw went well for me. I actually picked out third, but I got first choice of swim, so I managed to get the swim that I wanted. Now there is quite a few fish directly out in front of me. I've seen them here. I've been really quiet setting up, hence why I'm whispering now. But there were fish over the far side, and no one in the draw has picked that area. So what I'm going to do, I can't help myself, I'm going to go and do a bit of stalking over the other side first, make a bit of commotion over there, and if I do get lucky enough to catch one, it should push the fish out and I could end up with more fish in this central body on this island that I'm fishing. I've got a lot of water to myself. There's 8 people here. They're spread out quite evenly, but there's no one over there, and I just can't help myself because when we went over there earlier, we did see a fish mouthing on some of the goat willow fluff on the surface. So I've got a little stalking rod, a little wafter, and see if we can drop this in the nose of a fish, and yeah, hopefully get an instant response where they turn and grab it straight away. So off we go. walk around that we're doing now is actually showing us where there's a few fish holding up, and we see them there earlier and they're still there now. I don't think this is the right way of catching them at the moment. I think what I need to do is come around with my barra with a couple of 12-foot rods and actually some bottom baits and sit on them for a little while in these different areas, because there's more than one fish down here, and they're half decent fish as well. So we're going to take a walk back, get ourselves sorted out, and yeah, work out whether we're going to come straight back out or sit in our swim where we are at the moment and fish that for a couple of hours first. But this first trip round is actually about gaining knowledge and finding out what these fish are doing, how they're reacting. And they did turn and go down onto this little single bait, which is free lining. So yeah, they're inquisitive and they look like they're feeding. So we're going to put this first rod out, and it's going out probably about 25-30 yards just out there. Don't know how many sections of the bushwhacker it is, but I've set it up to the correct length, so I'll shuffle the whole lot out. Got the handle, and I know full well at the end of the pole I'm going to be the same distance every time. I've got another section over there set up as well, a little bit in closer, and again I can shuffle it out, just take the spoon head off, put it on that section, take it out, end of the section, end of the pole section. It's going to be in the same place every time, so it's going to make it a little bit easier during the dark, because I know if I stand at the edge of the water, shuffle it out, and I just turn it as soon as I get the end of the pole to the edge of the water. Nice and accurate. On top, I'm going to put a generous amount of bait out first of all. When I say generous for myself, it's going to be a whole one of these spoons. There. In the spoon of the bushwhacker, and have this set inside as well. Spotlight special, little washed out orange, lovely. Set up for the evening now, and had a little bit of a downpour just as we was putting the last rods out, and since that little bit of rain there's a little bit of activity out there. They're showing themselves. I had a savage liner on my right hand rod and on my left hand rod, and when I come out and had a look, the bubbles jacuzziing and pluming off of my spot was amazing. But we are fishing very, very tight holes in this lake because it's just covered in weed. But yeah, there's lots of little holes in between, and when I'm dropping my lead into these holes, there's a nice little solid donk there, but the line lay is literally drooping over the top. So you're always going to get a few liners and that, but yeah, it's an indication that they're in the swim. But what is interesting is they are on the food that I put out there and the bait that I put out there. They're feeding on it. It's fizzing up out there, and I just think it's a matter of time before something's going to happen. Now, we walked around this lake a couple of times today, and I think everyone is on fish. We've seen fish in every single swim. There was quite a lot in this area when we turned up. I was fortunate enough, like I say, that I managed to pull out first in the draw, and this area here does command a lot of water. So I think if the pressure gets too much around the outside, they're going to come into this central body, and I might be able to capitalise from it and have a few out. But we'll see what happens through the night, but things are looking promising. Disturbed sleep for me last night. A lot of liners going on, and when I woke up this morning, which was about 4:45, I noticed there's a lot of fizzing going on all around my spots. The water's all chocolatey, and I've seen fish tail up, mooching around. They're here. It's just trying to work out how to catch these little buggers. But yeah, there's lots of little pockets in amongst the weed, and they're generally clear. So yeah, the challenge is getting them to pick up our baits. Lot of liners with the nuisance fish, I think. Some big roach and rudd in here, and yeah, I've just got to work out how to catch these carp now. This is the first full day. We arrived here yesterday, but by the time we walked around and done a swim draw and bits and pieces, the day just went so quickly. But yeah, first full day today. Going to be mooching around. I'm going to do a lot of stalking over the next couple of days, and this is going to be really my morning and afternoon plot. But saying that, if it starts rocking here and I start pulling out fish after fish, then I'm not going to be stalking as much as I would normally on a venue like this. So that's what we're going to do.
Fish after fish at Ashmead.
Cool, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Fish after fish. Right, so I'm going for a bit of a stalk now. It's quietened off a little bit in this swim, so I think now is a good chance to go and have a look, see where I can find fish, hopefully, and wangle one out. I've got me little neutrino bite alarm there ready, so nice and light. Land net, nicked me pole from me ND net because you have to use their nets here, so nice short net though, net pole, and my little 6-foot rod. So this is all we need for the time being, and if we get something, we can leave it in the net. Someone can watch it, we'll go get a retainer and get an unhooking back. As I walk around this willow tree just here, there's a fish swirl just in that patch of weed down there. As I stood here, getting myself sorted out, just keep watching, it actually swung round. It may have been another fish, but it come round. There was a fish that went down underneath that willow just there as well. So there's at least one fish here, possibly more, probably more. So I've just thrown the rig just down there. I've taken the lead off. I've just lit it a critically balanced bait, just sink to the bottom, and then I've thrown some half chopped boilies, just halves over the top, and I think that'll probably be enough just to get a bite. And I think with this venue, it is very much just getting a bite. Can't believe we're already at the end of our second day. There's not a lot's happened really at all. No one around the lake's had anything, and it's been a lot quieter, less showing fish. But the fish I've seen, they've been so spooky. I've done a little bit of stalking today, and I've even taken the lead off to minimise the amount of disturbance, throwing it in and just free lining it and watching the line twitch and then strike into it if it picks it up. But not even that. I've thrown a rig in front, like I say, without a lead, and I've just watched the fish just react very strangely. So I've changed what I'm doing a little bit, and I've just scaled down everything. I've gone with smaller hooks, I've gone with smaller baits, and I'm thinking, yeah, I don't think they're on the big beds of bait. I think they're little and often 15, 20 boilies over your bait, I think is the way forward for this. I know others probably do well on the heavily baited areas here, but I just don't think at the moment they're on the heavy baited areas. I think we are now fishing for a bite, and yeah, I just want one fish. It's a tricky little lake. So what I'm actually going to do tomorrow is the back section over there is got no angling pressure whatsoever, and there's fish around there. I've seen them today. I've walked around them a couple of times, and what I'm going to do is exactly what I said just then. I'm going to go around there tomorrow morning first thing, and I'm just going to put some single hook baits out with 15, 20 boilies over the top, and I'm going to sit around there all day. But like I say, there's no pressure around there, there's no other anglers around there, and yeah, there's just been a little bit of commotion around here, which I just think they've responded to it, and they've just pushed out of this whole area, well, this whole half of the lake, because round there's more fish than I've seen in the last couple of days round there, and the water is just muddy. So that's where the fish are. they're not stupid and they know where the angling pressure is, and they've gone to a safe haven. So I need to try and slip them up, and I don't think baited areas, heavily baited areas is the way forward. I think single hook baits, 15 baits over the top, if that, could nick a bite, and that's what we're going to try tomorrow. So it's just gone 5 o'clock in the morning. I've gone for a wander. Cup of tea, yeah, here's a cup of tea actually, more of coffee for this one. Here's a cup of tea in hand. And it's very misty. I've moved and I've come over the other side of the lake where we've been stalking for the last night. I've had a couple of chances today, or I say chances, half-hearted chances. Well, I've had a couple of fish turn onto some bait, and I had one literally just over the back, just over there, 20-30 yards that way. Well, I flew a rig on top of some weed, and the carp actually turned and mouthed it. Now the actual bait was, well, the hook was just hooked onto a bit of weed, and it couldn't suck it in properly. Had it taken it from another angle, I may have landed it or hooked into it anyway, but it didn't happen. But I've had chances today, and I haven't capitalised on those chances, unfortunately. So yeah, last night here, I've moved because the centre of that lake where I was before, it's just gone dead. There's nothing around. I haven't seen any movement in the weed. I haven't seen any fizzing like I was before. And this bank here has just been quiet for the last 3 days. So yeah, I have seen them here. So last night is here. I put a little bit of bait down in 3 little locations along this bank, and one of them is very polished, and the bottom is almost luminous where they've cleared it so well. So I've just got a funny feeling that if anything happens tonight, it's going to be that spot, but time will tell, I suppose. It's been difficult. As you'll see, I'm in a different swim to where I was last night, and I just didn't feel it was going to happen there. Sometimes you get a gut feeling. The fish were certainly there when we went there earlier, but I just think they moved out. And what fish we see there, I think there was just the odd one, and time was running out, and I needed to try and locate groups of fish to try and up my odds a little bit with what limited time was left. So all the guys last night were going off to the cabin to watch the Euro 2024 final, England versus Spain, and yeah, I decided to go and watch it with them for a little bit. So I packed all my stuff up, walked around, and while I was doing that, I decided to have a little bit of a look around some of the other areas on the lake that I didn't actually know was here. There's little hives and little cubby holes all over the place, and when I went round the corner on a central island, I found an area that was very, very private, no one overlooking yourself, and it just looked good, and it was holding a few fish in here. So I decided where I was going to go, and then while that was happening, like I say, the guys were getting ready watching the Euros football, and the WhatsApp group went, and with that, Russ hooked into a really nice common.
Well, it's been a hard 4 days, just going into the final night, and I decided to make a move before the football, and I've been rewarded with this one, going 31.8.
Yeah, so what a lovely fish that was that Russ had, £31 I believe it went, and it was his 40th birthday, and he actually organised this trip, so really, really chuffed for him to get a fish, and as it was at that point, he was the only one to catch. So we all went down to the cabin, started watching the football, and come half time I really wanted to get back to my new area and actually find some spots in the daylight to put some rigs in. So during that, I'm here, I found a few little areas, single hook bait straight in, and as you've probably seen, I've been using some little tiny mesh bags of pellet. Now I just threw them straight over the top, so there's little parcels of pellet around my hook bait. And while I was doing that, yeah, I heard an almighty shout. I decided to bring my rod back in. I only just literally threw it back out. There's a little bit of pellet out there anyway, so I brought the rod back in. I only put one rod out at that point and went down and watched the rest of the football with them. Yeah, typical England style, didn't work out, did it? We lost to Spain 2-1, but I didn't hang about before I got back to the rods and got the baits back out on them spots. A little bit more pellet back out there again, and yeah, early hours of the morning, off she rattled. There we go, a historic fish from a historic venue. Been through the wars this one, it's blind in one eye, got a few scales lifted off the tail, so we'll get this one treated, get it back. I finally got one from Ashmead. It'll take a little while. Can I get another one? That's the question. Over the moon, absolutely over the moon. So she wasn't the best looking carp in the lake, but who cares? It's an Ashmead carp, and with a lake with such significance and history, with some real legends fish this lake, it's a venue that any true angler would want to come and fish. And yeah, we've still got a few hours left to go. I think the time, in actual fact, I haven't got a clue what the time is. It must be still very, very early, but we need to be off here at 11 o'clock. So there is time for another one. I have still got fish just showing themselves. There's just a little bit of a bow wave underneath the weed. You see the weed just lift up and then drop back down again. And they're there. And they are going over these little tiny little pockets, and every now and again you just see a flick of a tail. So we know they're there. We just need to get them to pick up one of these rigs again. But it's changed a lot since we got here 4 days ago. There's been an algae bloom, and now, particularly just round the corner here, there's all this algae that has risen to the top and is now hugging onto the top of the weed. So you've got all these like luminous yellow patches of algae now attached to the weed, which makes it a little bit more difficult because it sticks to the line and also makes your line presentation a lot harder. But yeah, like I say, we've still got time, so let's see how it goes. The last 2 hours have gone really, really quickly, and the heavens have opened. We knew this rain was coming, but it has come to an end for this session, and I do feel it's a little bit of unfinished business. I have managed to wangle one out of here. Russ had one earlier as well. I've just had a bream. I had a pike as well, so I've had multi-species, but we wanted more carp. So I think a return trip is going to be on the cards, and now I know so much more about this lake. I've found areas where I feel they patrol, and I think a second trip here, or even if I had probably a couple of days longer, I think I probably could have another 1 or 2 fish out of here. But it hasn't happened, and that's it. But until next time, toodle pip.